Happy Wednesday morning. It is kind of warm out there, and it's going to be really cold tomorrow. One of those, when you look at the weather app or you listen to our buddy Pat Hammer, and like, oh, look at this, 43 degrees, -2 tomorrow.
Yeah.
in the real feel, at least.
Brutal.
So, big dip. And next week, looking at single-digit lows. So, anyway, but it's warm today for now. Sal, good morning. How are you today?
Pretty good, guys. Pretty good. I saw that this morning as well. It's going to be bitterly cold tomorrow morning.
Meanwhile, you're going on another beach vacation.
Yeah, basically.
Temperatures in the 60s out there in Denver.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. I
No?
looked yesterday. I think it's like 45 game for the game on Saturday. Now it's like 45. I think if I looked at it right.
Okay. Well, then
I know the opening temperature I saw during the week was like 56, but it very easily I think could have gone down.
That's right. Tomorrow in Denver, it's going to be a high of 61, and next week it's all in the 50s and mid-50s.
You're right. I see 50 as the high now for Saturday, and 28 is the low.
That's fine. It'll feel like home.
Sunday.
You know what though? Not a lot of wind. That's number one. And no precipitation, so that's good. I think it sounds like it's pretty good football weather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good for Matt Prater. The warmer, the better.
Yeah, and I mean he kicked there before. You know, he used to play there, so
That's
I mean
right.
he understands that stadium. He understands the altitude, the environment, all those things that we talk about. All those little kind of things that come into play in games like this.
Sal, let's get through the lengthy injury report. The Barnes Firm injury report brought to you by the Barnes Firm injured call 1-800-8-million.
They're getting their money's worth.
That's right. A lot of injuries. And Sal, the big story, of course, is the double blow here to receiver. We knew Gabe Davis tore his ACL and will be out the season, and Tyrell Shavers was they're getting a look at it and then find out that he suffered a similar fate, finished the game on it. And is this the all-time, you like to make the point, sometimes the guy finishes the game and then you find out that there's swelling. In this case, he finished the game and turns out it's a torn ACL, which is about as intense as that gets.
It's pretty unbelievable. So during the game, he gets hurt on a punt play. And I remember looking and saying, okay, he's down. I don't know if it was non-contact or not, but it didn't look good because of the nature of the play. It's on a punt play and kind of away from the play. So I didn't get a good look at what happened, but he was in a lot of pain. It's right before the half. So he goes in the locker room. We're told he's questionable to return. They're evaluating. That's normal basically. And then, guys, I'm doing my halftime hit with Nate, and I'm standing on the field. And everybody's in the locker room already. They're gone. Here comes Tyrell Shavers with two trainers during halftime with his helmet on and starts working out on the sidelines, running, doing sprints. I'm like, oh, Tyrell Shavers, this is great news. Looks like he might be coming back in. He's got his helmet on. And then right before halftime, I'm told, yep, Tyrell Shavers, he's clear to go back in. Okay, you figure everything's okay. He played 21 snaps. He's on the field on the tush push at the end, by the way, that Josh Allen gets carried in. He's on the field on that play, helping out in the tush push. And then afterwards, see him in the locker room. I said, how you feeling? He said, feeling good now that we got the dub. He said, but we'll see. And then obviously yesterday, the really brutal news for him. What a really terrible situation for him. A guy that worked his tail off to get just to this point to be on the field playing in the NFL, let alone meaningful snaps, meaningful games for a team that they're very much relying on him in a lot of these run situations and catching a few passes now. And obviously a big blow to the Bills and what they like to do structurally on offense. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest part of this.
They wouldn't have known, right, during the game that his ACL was torn and then he went back in, right?
No. You do some testing.
Yeah.
I don't think they have the right imaging right there to go through all of that needs to be done, Joe. That's something you have to really kind of go and look at right there. It's like, okay, I'm not the medical expert here to tell you, but obviously if that were the case, he wouldn't have finished.
So what are they really losing? I mean, we can include Davis in this as well, Sal. I mean, Shavers has not been a large part of the pass attack by him catching the ball, but we were talking about earlier, like his role when they throw screens and his role in the run game, like him and Davis both doing that job at times and both being out, like it maybe makes it tougher that they're both out at the same time.
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, look at just some of the blocking that you see Tyrell do. I mean, we've talked about him. You've seen him on TV. They've highlighted him and how good he is in the run game. I will tell you this. I had a conversation recently with Aaron Cromer who told me just how important Tyrell Shavers is to what they do and how much he was really praising him. And you heard Sean McDermott praise him and talk about him and how much, he's important to what they do. So, look, I don't want to understate it or overstate it, right? Because it's a wide receiver in the run game. I totally get it. But that's the Bills' identity. That's what they do. They're really good at the run game. They try to be a really great run team, and he's a big part of that. And then you add on the fact that Gabe that's a big thing, part of what he does. You're losing two really important players there. And I do wonder if, philosophically you have to change a little bit here, because what happens is you put a receiver on the field, teams can't just go base defense all the time. But now all of a sudden you have a guy that's a little smaller, and these receivers help out in blocking. And then the screens, you brought up the screens. Look at the screen that Khalil Shakir had early in the game. There was one where he catches the ball. It's on the Bills sideline. I mean, Tyrell's making a great block to get him, instead of 3 yards, he gets like 7 or 8 yards. Those little kind of details matter. So they bring back Christian Wilkerson to the practice squad. He is more of a big-bodied receiver. Like, he's more that type. So I think they need a little bit of that, on the roster. They do have Curtis Samuel, his 21-day window opening, and he's practicing. They have Nicole Hardman on the practice squad. These are not the same receivers. So that's why I wonder, do they go into this game and say, okay, we just have to have a bit of a change of philosophy and how we're going to run and with these guys and what we're going to do offensively? It's going to be interesting.
Would you think it's a combination of Keon Coleman and Wilkerson that are doing a lot of that dirty work?
At this point, Joe, I'd be surprised if Wilkerson is playing. Like, okay. I doubt he's actually up on the active roster. You just brought him in. He hadn't been here for weeks and weeks. I think that's a tough ask, especially on a short week with a walkthrough. Like, how much practice time does he have to get in there and actually do all that stuff? You know what I mean? So no, I don't think so. I think it's probably, the way I look at it right now, it would be one of or both Curtis Samuel or Nicole Hardman on the active roster on game day. Is it possible? Sure. I just think that's a tough ask for a guy that hasn't been here, and suddenly, we're bringing him back into the room, and then he's got to play on game day and fill this role.
And Samuel, Sal, full participant, right? No designation of any kind.
Yeah, let me look real here. That is correct. He's got the elbow injury. When he went on IR, it was elbow/neck. Now it's only elbow listed. He's a full participant, so that's really good news, and that could mean that he's ready to rock and roll, and we'll see how that shakes out. And he's not the only one, obviously. We can get to Ed Oliver, but Ed Oliver also and DeMar Hamlin, who all three have their windows open. The Bills have one open roster spot. They have 3 guys right now on IR who are eligible to come off.
And I feel like, I predicted yesterday, the Bills have kind of used IR in this way, which is not against the rules. Like, you keep guys stashed until maybe you're ready for them to come back. A spot opens up, somebody else gets hurt, now you bring this guy off IR. My expectation, if it's Oliver, I guess that you can't not do that if he's ready to play. And he said he's optimistic, Sal. But if it's not Oliver, then my guess is it's probably going to be Curtis Samuel. Because if he's a full participant in a position you're already really thin at, to me that makes the most sense.
Yeah, and let's remember, they could make a roster move too, right? I mean, like, if Terrell Bernard is okay to play, then you could release Bale Inspector, for example, right? I mean, right now, Bale Inspector's on the 53-man roster. You have 6 linebackers. I mean, if Terrell Bernard's able to play, do you need 6 linebackers going into a game? You know what I mean? So I just think there's a lot of things that you could take a look at if you need to do. You have 4 tight ends right now on your active roster, right? So they'll have to just kind of evaluate where they want to be with all that.
So Oliver, he, of course, it's the biceps injury that forces him out. A couple weeks ago, there was a knee scope as well. Where is he, Sal, in terms of like whether it's what the coaches say about him or what he says about his ability to possibly play?
So he's only listed as bicep on the injury report, but yes, he did have the knee scope, right? And obviously that's something. Then maybe who knows? I mean, could be also, but either way, we know that those two things happened. He says he feels good. He said, the thing about him though is he said yesterday he did the walkthrough and he felt good. He said, but we'll see where it goes. He's got to get through today's more of a full day for these guys. It's a regular practice. So a lot will be determined today, guys, how they get through today's practice. Yesterday was a walkthrough. That goes for Curtis Samuel. That goes for Ed Oliver. The other guys who are limited. Like, today is a much bigger day. How they get through today's practice, how they feel. Ed just really I think one thing about Ed Oliver people have to understand, he is a football junkie. He just wants to play football. He loves football so much. He wants to be out there. He just wants to go out there and play. And if he could play, if you're telling him that you're close to playing, no, I'm going out there, right? Like, if it's up to him, he's playing. You know what I mean? But he's got to get through it, and he understands what the protocols are for him to kind of be ready and know that he can't hurt his team either.
Sal Capaccio with us on the Wester Hotline. Sal, the Bernard injury might be a little interesting if he gets to a point where he's available, because we've talked about it with you, like trying to figure out what the puzzle is at linebacker. But, I mean, you just had a big game from, at least there was a splash play by Shaq Thompson in the last game. So, I don't know, what do you see there and what Bernard could mean to that combo?
Yeah, I still think Shaq Thompson's got to be the guy that stays where he is just because of what he's meant to this defense, how they're playing, over the last kind of, I guess, month and a half or whatever. They've been better against the run, not great. I know that there's some numbers put up still, but they've at least been able to kind of make it where a team isn't dominating them on the ground in a game, right? And I think that that's been a big source of helping out what the defense has been able to do here, putting teams in situations where, you might be able to get a takeaway like they did. So I think that's the case. Now, that said, I'm taking a look at the, Denver Broncos, and they're not a great run team. They have a very mobile quarterback who's going to use his legs, and he's going to scramble around. And I wonder, do the Bills think that that's something they're going to have to take a little bit more account of this week, because then you can have a little more athleticism out there with Tyrell Bernard. Dorian Williams, obviously, is a guy who's been used as a spy. Matt Milano can do it. But, how do you want to treat Bo Nix here in this situation? And this could be a mix and match type of thing, too, based on down and distance and things like that, guys.
It could be good for depth, too, because they're not really using Dorian Williams, Sal, as like a traditional linebacker. Like you said,
right.
It feels like when he's on the field, it's either he's a spy or he's doing one of those pass rush, sets where he's actually on the line of scrimmage.
Agreed. Yeah, he's kind of. Is it fair to say he's kind of taken over like the Michael Hoyt kind of role in that regard, right?
Kinda.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where like they're using him all over the front seven, and I give Dorian a lot of credit. I think Dorian's come a long way in that regard as a football player. Like there was a time where we'd always talk and say, oh my God, like Dorian Williams, he just plays so fast, but he over pursues and he doesn't diagnose quickly, but he'll get there and he'll make up for it or with his speed, but he's got to see it. I think Dorian Williams has become a really much smarter football player. I think he's seeing things really well. He understands his role. They've found a really nice role for him here. I also want to point out that Matt Milano does have an ankle injury and he's limited yesterday. So, that could be something that you have to think about when it comes to this conversation about. And I'm not telling anybody I don't think Matt Milano's going to play. I just think that you have to start thinking about what you said, Joe, like depth and, different situations. Like if you got Bo Nix running around back there, if Matt Milano's not absolutely 100% in his ankle, what does that look like on a 3rd down and 6?
Yeah. One other thing I thought of the injury report, I want to get you a quick special teams question, because Shavers meant a lot for them and was like a core special teams guy for them. And Hamlin was practicing, right? And he's played special teams. I don't know if don't think they're the same role, but what changes do you think would be there? Like that might be one where maybe it wouldn't even be a receiver, Sal, that would play the role that Shavers has played.
It's a good question. Normally your 5th receiver is going to really have to play some special teams. I just don't know what they have here as far as guys being able to do that. But that brings in, again, is that a Christian Wilkerson where maybe, Joe, you get that part of it, which is okay. We can find a spot for this guy to put on, and then we can definitely use him in the run game because now he can help out, as a special teams guy because that's not McCall Hardman necessarily, right? McCall Hardman could be on the field to return punts. That's not going to be Curtis Samuel necessarily. You do have Darnell Savage still, on the roster that as part of the safety group. Damar Hamlin obviously is somebody that you could use in that role. So it's a good point you bring up. And maybe that does open the door for a guy like Wilkerson. It's just still, to me, after just coming back here, that's a bit of a tough ask. But again, like you might need a guy like that to add to depth on special teams.
Sal, before we get you out of here, you want to offer a thought on the Steelers? Mike Tomlin, big news yesterday. 9 head coaching openings. The record in a year is 10. Which is obviously a lot. So 9 head coach openings, and the Steelers enter the game late with the announcement that Mike Tomlin is stepping away. And we'll wait to see what he does next. But, what was your instant reaction? What do you think about it for Pittsburgh?
I am not surprised that either Tomlin or Harbaugh are no longer the coaches where they are. My surprise is how each of them exited, which is I did not think John Harbaugh would be fired. You know what I mean? I thought that if that was going to happen and thought could happen, it would be mutual parting of the ways. They both realize that, the relationship has run its course. I kind of felt the same thing about Tomlin. Okay, at the end of the day, they might say, okay, you know what? We're going to go in a different direction. He wants something new. You just have to do it. But Harbaugh was fired and Tomlin stepped down. And, talking with some of my media colleagues yesterday in the room, we were talking about, well, maybe the Steelers just, they've never fired a coach. They don't want to have it look like they fired a coach. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It feels to me like Mike Tomlin made up his mind a while ago that he just didn't want to coach anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And, he might be in TV next year or whatever. He's going to take time off. That said, guys, I'm old enough to remember when Bill Cowher took over as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I remember at the time thinking, they had this really long coach, Chuck Noll, and now they're going totally outside the box and hiring somebody that was a special teams coordinator in Cleveland, I believe, at the time. And then you might be old enough, Joe, Jeremy, at least to remember, maybe you do, Joe, when Mike Tomlin became coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they did the same kind of thing where they kind of went outside the box, outside the organization. And I remember Art Rooney, I think it was, who was asked, like, what is it? And this is after Tomlin wins the Super Bowl. He's a young coach. Like, okay, they found their next star coach. And they said, like, what is it about, like, how you guys have found these coaches? And he said, we hire the brightest young mind we can and support the hell out of them. And I always remember that. And I'm thinking, you know what? Is that what they're going to do this time? Are they just going to go find somebody outside the organization that they say, we're going to identify the next guy who's going to be here for the next 15 years?
I wonder, too, like, how much power they'd have to hire kind of whoever they want. Because on the surface, Sal, like, I would look at that job and say, well, it's an old roster without a quarterback. Yeah, that's not enticing. But if I'm a head coach, like if I'm Brian Flores or anybody, I might look at that job and go, well, they never fire anybody, so my job security might be as good there as it would be anywhere.
Yeah, whoever gets the job is going to kind of want assurances like this. This is going to take not like a tear down, but this team needs to turn over.
But again, if you're a guy that thinks like, coaches can be fired in a year, if I go to Pittsburgh, I mean, I'm probably getting more chance there than I would in any other organization.
I know this is really probably something that people who are right now listening who are like 25, 30 years old, you're going to think that I'm nuts when I say this. I get it because of where the Steelers are now, but it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. If anybody in coaching thinks about coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers, it is like near the top of their list of organizations they'd want to be a part of and coach. I know that sounds crazy to people who have not seen them win a playoff game in a decade. Well, I totally understand that. But this is like the Notre Dame of college, where I say the same thing now. Come on, Notre Dame's not what it used to be, right? But you know what I mean?
I would like to push back on that point a little bit because the candidates you're talking about are younger than you, right? The candidates you're talking about,
most of them.
So, like, this generation doesn't really think of the Steelers that way, I don't think. So, like, I'm not saying it's not a job that people, whatever, it's an important job, it's a big job, but I got a 32-year-old brightest young mind. That's not the same Steelers that Mike Tomlin took over.
Well, Harbaugh's older than Sal.
And you're right. And that is actually my point I make about Notre Dame. Like, that's the way I feel about Notre Dame now, right? Like, growing up in the 80s, it was like, oh, my God, that's the greatest job ever. And it's still like it's Notre Dame, but like they haven't. I know that where they are now. I'm not trying to make a Notre Dame point. You get it though, right? You guys understand what I'm saying? Like,
Notre Dame
right? It's not what it used to be.
Yeah, Notre Dame had to work their way back to that, and they did. All right.
Did you see?
I just think that the Steelers are a one of these NFL franchises. They have these Lombardis. They have this storied history and tradition, and most people involved in football would covet that job. Is what I'm saying.
Did you see the report about Tomlin and wanting warm weather, and that Miami wants him? Did you spend any time thinking about him and the Dolphins?
Josina Anderson says Harbaugh and Tomlin at the top of the Dolphins list, and if the Dolphins hired Tomlin, I mean,
you want him in the division?
Oh, I would take it. I would.
I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean, tell me who his quarterback is. Tell me who his punter is. That's probably more important, actually, when it comes to Mike Tomlin.
Right. Honestly,
they might be at the top of the Dolphins list, but are the Dolphins at the top of their list?
That's right. It's a great question. The biggest mark against Tomlin for me is if the Dolphins hire him, will he just want to adopt what he did in Pittsburgh? It was like, all right, who's the best available free agent quarterback I can get on the market that can try to win us 10 games? Like, that's just good luck. That's just not a way to live in today's NFL. So good luck to him. All right, Sal. We'll chat tomorrow. You're on the road. You're hitting the road for Denver on Friday. It's a short week. So
I want to let everybody know, just so we know, so you guys can make sure tomorrow, too, we can mention this. But Sean McDermott tomorrow on WGR on the Extra Point Show, because tomorrow's like a normal Friday. You know what I mean? Because tomorrow's the day of the designations for injuries. Today's another injury report. Tomorrow is the full designations, out, doubtful, questionable, all that. So I'm going to host tomorrow the Extra Point Show as if it's a Friday, and we're going to have Sean McDermott on. I'm going to have Sean McDermott on tomorrow. He's going to give us the injury report, and then Friday's a travel day to Denver.
Very good. Cool. Thanks, Sal.
You got it, guys.
Sal Capaccio on the Wester Hotline.